This car is kind of a unique car. It's a car that I kind of sought out. E30s are pretty ubiquitous. They're everywhere. But this particular one was only produced in the United States for basically a year and a half. It is the most modern, sophisticated motor that they put in the E30 chassis. This was it. This was the last sort of run of the 4-door and the 2-door hardtop models. The convertible carried on in the States for another year, and then in Europe, the station wagon version carried on into '93. This was kind of the Hyperion of technology, and they brought this model out to actually compete specifically with the Volkswagen GTIs. So this was the more budget-friendly one, and that's why they put a 4-cylinder in it. It got the M42 motor. The motor is just very advanced compared to like the M20. The M20 is a timing belt, 2 valves per cylinder, cast iron block. This is 4 valves per cylinder, double row timing chain, sodium-filled exhaust valves. So it's a pretty sophisticated motor, and because they only did this car for 1 year, 6,370 were made. So as far as E30s go, in the 4-door variant with this motor, it's actually rarer by production numbers than even like an E30 M3.
What about this car was appealing to you? Like, why this one? Why not one of the 2 doors?
I've always loved sedans. I think the lines look better for the E30 with 4 doors than it does with 2. I'm very much in the outlier. The market values will tell you that, and probably most of the people that comment on this video will tell you that. But, you know, I didn't buy it for the market value. I didn't buy it for profitability. I bought it because I wanted the 4 doors, and I like the aesthetics of it.
Tell me what you've done to it since you've had it.
It came out of Brooklyn at some point. That's where it lived its life. I bought it in Goshen, New York, from a used car dealer, and I got lucky because I saw the ad for it, I saw the price, but he couldn't figure out how to upload photos. This was just like, we weren't in the mobile phone
right.
era yet where you could take a picture with your cell phone, so he had to get his wife to help him, and he sent me over the pictures. And as soon as I saw it, I said, that's in really good shape for the price. And I think that's probably why it sat on Auto Trader and kind of languished, because he didn't have photos up. So I went out and looked at it. The only negative that I saw was that it had a pretty bad respray. The single stage paint that came on these cars was pretty prone to sun fade, and if lived in Brooklyn, it probably sat outside, and I'm suspecting that it had clear coat fade. But the interior was in great shape. It came with the original black vinyl comfort interior. I drove it like that for a little while, but I like to tinker like you. Yep. So we started playing with it. As time went on, I started to get a little bit more serious with it. I've touched pretty much everything on the car at this point. The big modifications that I've done in the last couple of years, did a full respray the right way. I did a whole new interior. So the interior that's in there is the leather IS, the sport interior. So those are the sport seats, has the rear pass-through. So I switched the color to gray. So now I'm kind of straying out of originality, but you know, I tried to keep everything sort of either period correct or what would have been a potential option. So like the E30 M3 version of this chassis, it did have an option of having gray interior with a silver exterior. They used the salmon silver. They didn't use the sterling silver on the E30 M3s, but that color combination did exist. Sitting on H&R Sport OEs, E90 drop hats in the front struts, so that just kind of gives it the neutral rake. I didn't want to go any more aggressive with the springs, so the one caveat with the M42 motor is it's got a low oil pan, so
Gotcha.
you don't want to go too low.
In Pittsburgh? Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
So how much of a drop is on there? Probably, what, 1.5 inches?
About 1.5 inches, yeah.
Yep.
It's Bilstein heavy duties in the rear, and then sports on the front. Suspension-wise, beyond that, S&T sways, 22 front, 19 rear, sway reinforcements, polyurethane bushes, E30 offset control arm bushings, so that gives it about 2 degrees in negative camber on the front wheels. Chassis brace and a strut brace. It's perfect. It's the right amount of compliance. It's still got a little bit of that vintage body roll, which I think you want out of these. It's a great way to bring an old car into somewhat modern handling. The thing that you notice is just the weight. It's just such a light vehicle. So it's got a coil on plug conversion. This motor carried on into the E36 chassis. Coil on plug was a later update, so it's just sort of bringing it into like the E36 era, if you will. Running a Dynon chip right now, true cold air intake. I think this was good for like 18 horsepower is what they quote. I mean,
It's 18 you didn't have before.
that's right.
So
All right.
tell me about the wheels.
Yes. Been through a lot of wheels. Came on Steelies originally. You know, that really tells you how budget-minded this car was when it came out, and the kind of cost cutting that BMW had to do to get it down to Volkswagen price levels. I've been through some wheels, and again, now that I'm running out of things to do, I've decided to focus this year on trying to get the wheels that I've wanted for some time, which were the BBS RS. Hard to find in good shape, so I did find a set that needed restored, and we just got done doing that. Didn't realize how much of a challenge it'd be to find, one, someone that would take them apart, two, somebody that would polish them, three, somebody that would reassemble and reseal them.
Where did you find somebody to do that? You have to send them off somewhere, right?
Yeah. So shout out to Paul at Ehrlich Wheelworks down in North Carolina. He specializes in BBS wheels.
Cool.
And also shout out to Totally Baked Powder Coaters up in Freedom, PA. Billy will disassemble, reassemble, and reseal 3 pieces. So he disassembled for me, and I shipped the lips and the center caps out to Paul. Billy put everything back together. So I had the option of doing polished assembly bolts. Very rare to find them with the original BBS assembly bolts. So those are the original bolts. They all say BBS on them. I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
So I decided to reuse them. Some of them have a little bit of patina on them, so kind of makes a perfect imperfect restoration.
Have you done anything to upgrade lighting on this?
Yes, yeah. So the original US versions, we missed out on a lot of the European options that were cooler. One of them was lights. These had your standard Sylvania sealed halogens, but the Europeans got smileys, so you can see the smiley here. It's a projector style, throws way more light, way better light. And this one, the yellow high beams, they call them Frenchies or French lights. They were an option for French spec E30s. I like that it breaks up some of the silver because there's so much going on with the silver paint that I think it gives it kind of a nice contrast. Beyond that, we also had a different grille. The European grills have the brow that goes across the top that gives it a little bit more of a menacing look. I put the IS front lip on this model. It just gives it the right lines. Since I've done more of the IS upgrades with the interior and everything, it kind of fits. Like this could be a 4-door IS, if you will.
Nice. You would never part with this, would you?
I would.
Would you?
I would. Now that I'm starting to run out of things to do, I think half the fun for me is finding things to do. It's at a point where anything would be major.
That's surprising. It's surprising that you said you would get rid of it because you've had to, this is a long-termer for you.
It's been a labor of love. It's ready for somebody else to enjoy if that ever came, but I'm not actively looking to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.